All right, I'll try to wrap up quickly. I'm Steve Lytinen at DePaul University, and this work is really the work of a former student of mine named Kevin Raison, so you can direct questions to him. Oh, I'm sorry. This work is about affective reasoning, and in particular, an affective agent. And the theory is Sullivan Tompkins' theory of affect from way back in 1962. It's not often that you get to cite something from that long ago. Tompkins was a psychiatrist and developed a theory of affect. He included drives in his theory. Some of the drives were hunger, elimination, that's actually the desire not to be eliminated, bonding, he had several other drives as well, and then here are the affects that he theorized. You can see there were positive, negative, and neutral affects. Probably the most important ones are the negative affects, since after all he's a psychiatrist. The way that the reasoning works is, in short, there are drives and then there are inputs that the agent receives, and the result is affects that the agent experiences, and then finally actions that the agent performs. The system was tested on a toy world called the Wumpus world, if you're familiar with that. It's described in Russell and Norvig. The world is a world of rooms. You can see the rooms are organized in a grid, and there are certain rooms to avoid. There's a monster called the Wumpus, which you can see in row 3. There are also bottomless pits. You can see several of those. And then there's the agent. If the agent runs into the Wumpus or to any of the pits, then the agent dies. The agent can move up, down, to the right, or to the left. And you can see there are certain inputs that the agent senses. There's a stench that the Wumpus generates, and then there are breezes that occur from the pits. So the agent can sense ahead of time whether it's going to run into the Wumpus or into the pits. But there are certain situations in which the agent can't know for sure which way to go. In this particular diagram, if the agent moves up to where the stench is, then it doesn't know from which direction the stench is coming. So it would have to either choose between moving up or to the right. Obviously, if it moves up, it dies. Now, Kevin made certain modifications to the Wumpus world. You can see them over there. I don't think I have time to complete them all, but the most important one is that these inputs, the stench and the breeze, dissipate slowly, so they appear in more than one of the rooms in the diagram. Oh, and one more thing. The agent in the original problem was supposed to retrieve a stack of gold, which you can see is right next to the Wumpus, and then exit the rooms, exit the cave. In Kevin's version, the gold was food, and also the agent never leaves the group of rooms. Instead, it stays there and occasionally has to eat food so as to avoid starving to death. And of course, it has to avoid the Wumpus and the pits. So, as a result of the affect that the agent experiences, it decides which way to move. And let's see, I've forgotten what these things stand for. Okay, so there's fear, and all right, so there's the stench, which invokes fear. There's also the breeze, which invokes fear, and the positive affect comes from the food. So you can see at the bottom left where the agent starts, it smells some stench, but not too much because the Wumpus is 2 rooms away. It also senses some breeze, again, but not too much because the pit is 2 rooms away. The agent will just stay there until it gets hungry, because that is a local maximum in the evaluation space. And then it will either, once it gets hungry enough, it will either move up or to the right. You can see the evaluation for those 2 squares is actually less than the original spot, because there's additional fear that comes from being closer to the Wumpus or to the pit. But once the agent gets hungry enough, it will start to wander around. It may fall into the room that contains the wumbus or the pit, but if it successfully navigates, you can see there's the measure of the affects that the agent experiences as it goes from room to room. And if it's lucky, it will encounter the food before it's going to encounter one of the ways in which it can die. Just one more thing about this. This is very much a reactive planner. So it doesn't have a full-fledged planning system implemented in it. Instead, it experiences the affects and then reacts based on the affects. And this sort of hill climbing behavior emerges from the affects and what the agent feels. So that's about it. Thanks.